Mr. President. First of all, Mr. Tusk, my congratulations for your reappointment. Fortunately, there doesn't exist any veto right anymore on this matters of nomination of the President of the European Council. And thank you very much for your strong condemnation of this provocation by President Erdogan towards our Dutch friends. Because it's quite cynical that the man who wants to install an authoritarian system in Turkey is at the same time pointing the finger and using fascism towards a number of countries in the European Union. It's quite cynical. And it's quite cynical also that he asked for freedom of speech of his ministers in our countries, while in the meanwhile there are European journalists in prison in Turkey. And we have to make the case that is still a journalist of Die Welt, a German journalist of Die Welt, Dennis Yücel, who is in jail and in prison. And I think the first thing what we have to do with all the European leaders is to recall that he is liberated as fast as possible before he can ask to have freedom of speech in another country. And I think we have to be realistic, and I am in full agreement with what Manfred Weber has said. It's good that we condemn everything what is happening in Turkey, but at a certain moment, Mr. President of the Commission and Mr. President of the Council, let's be honest, let's freeze the accession negotiations now. That is the only serious act that we can do to condemn what is Mr. Erdogan doing for the moment. That's the only serious way to do it. When he comes back to reason, I don't know when, then we can return to the negotiation table. But to negotiate for the moment with somebody who is using that language towards all democratic societies in Europe is unacceptable. And that brings me, Mr. Gentiloni, thank you for your presence as President of the Italian Council of Ministers. I will be in Rome on the 25th, but not in the beautiful Palazzo del Conservatore at Campidoglio. I will be in another beautiful place in Rome, the Piazza di Spagna, because with the European movement, with my friend Elmar Brok, with Jo Leinen of the European Federalists, with the Spinelli Group, with the movement Stand Up for Europe, we will gathering there in the Piazza di Spagna, which may be as beautiful as Campidoglio, but because we want to recall not the Europe we got and we had in the past. We want to, in fact, prepare the Europe we need in the future. And what Europe we need in the future, there is already now 4 weeks and 4 months, and I should say already 4 years, this question, do we need more Europe, do we need less Europe? Do we need more or less? I think it's a stupid question. In some cases and in some fields, we need less Europe. We need less bureaucracy. We need less regulation, for example, in our internal market. We need maybe less commissioners in the future and a small European government. We need no regulation on toilet bowls or on vacuum cleaners, on our bananas or on cucumbers. There we don't, and there we need less Europe. But at the same time, we all are aware of the fact that we need more Europe in a number of other issues. We need a European border and coast guard to manage all borders and do not give this task outsourcing it to Erdogan. We need, for example, a European government for our single currency and a Minister of Finance and a Treasury, because a state can maybe exist without a currency, but the currency cannot exist without a state. That is the reality that we have to see. We need, I think, a European investigation and intelligence capacity to fight against terrorism, not only depending on coordination between national authorities. And I think we need also, finally, a European defence community, a European army to stabilise our neighbourhood, to be capable to do something in our neighbourhood. So the question is not, do we need less, do we need more? We need less in some fields, and we need certainly more in other fields. And what I hope what will happen in Rome is not again producing hot air, because let's be honest, Mr. Tusk, We had La Valletta, we had Bratislava, we are going now to Rome. It's time now to start the process. We're going to not rewrite the treaties in Rome 60 years later. That is not possible. But what we could do is start a process, finally. And not only make declarations like we are now preparing a new declaration. And my proposal, the proposal of the European Parliament, is to start an interinstitutional exercise. The three institutions together, based on what we did with the report of Mario Monti, where we have created a new blueprint for the future budget of the European Union. We did this together, the Council, the Commission and the European Parliament. And my request to you, Mr. Tusk, is that together with Prime Minister Gentiloni, you should launch such a process in Rome. We're going to not wait for the outcome of all these elections in 2017, because there are going to be new elections in 2018 and 2019 in other countries. So if you can do something, is to launch that process. We know that Rome was the first republic. We know it was the first empire. We know it was the birthplace with Florence of the Renaissance. We know it was the start of the European Union. Well, I hope that on the 25th it can also be the city of the rebirth of the European Union. Thank you very much, President.